My name is Marcus Wengelen. I work for ACNR, and I'm here to present to you WickrSnoop. So before I go any further, a brief ethics disclaimer. So first of all, this information is for educational uses only. Use it responsibly. Basically, don't be a dick. It will possibly become clear why this is necessary later. In order to understand WickrSnoop, we first need to understand what is Wickr. I'm sure many of you have heard of this application before. It is a secure messaging application, and it provides some potentially useful features such as burn on read and end-to-end encryption. It's pretty popular with criminals. Don't ask me how I know that. What is WickrSnoop? It is a modded Wickr APK that provides a much needed feature, which is insecure messaging. I basically want a digital ceiling cat always watching. In order to accomplish this, there are three main challenges that we must overcome. First of all, find which methods the messages pass through in the flow of the application. We need to extract some desired information. I've decided that we're gonna get the sender and the recipient and the message content. And we also need to, in some static fashion, get this mod into the application. And I will show how you can sort of go from Frida to like a static, fully patched application and how that workflow looks. The first challenge, finding the methods, is pretty simple with Frida trace. Magnus talked about this tool extensively, so I don't think I need to go into it in much detail. But first of all, you dump the process ID of the Wickr application, and then I traced all the methods containing the string text message. And the two methods pop up on screen. So it's the Wickr message download manager, process text message, and the upload manager, send text message. So these are the two methods that we're interested in. So the second step is to take a bit of a closer look at these methods and see how the arguments look. So I've chosen to focus on one here in my slides, just to keep it brief, but the other method looks kind of similar. So as you can see here, we have a string that's called message. It's likely the message, right? This application is not obfuscated or anything. It could be much harder than this, but in this case, it isn't. So what do you know? So what we then need to extract are the parameters. I forgot to mention, you actually extract the APK using APK tool, and this Java code comes from a Java decompiler called JADX. So that's what we're looking at here. So the recipient and the sender is likely contained somewhere within the upload message params field, right? The first argument. The next step was to look at the implementation of the upload message params in the JADX decompiler, and you're greeted with a list of functions. And it's not super clear exactly which functions you need to call and how in order to extract the sender and the recipient information. So in order to make this process as seamless as possible, I used Frida. That means I can sort of play around and test which methods I can call and see what they return in real time. So as you can see, there is a field in the message upload params called recipients, which contains a list of Wickr convo users, and then you need to call get user on the Wickr convo user, and then the get user alias on the user interface that is returned. So it's not super trivial, and Frida can really help in this sort of work. So this script will basically do what I stated that I intended to do. It will dump the message contents and the sender and the recipients. But of course you need Frida, you need like USB cable, you need, or don't necessarily need, but the device kind of needs to be rooted. So this is what the next step is to convert this code into Java code that we can insert into the app. And this is that Java code. There should be some pretty obvious similarities to the Frida script previously shown. I use the same methods, and I used the Java reflection in order to call the methods built into the Wickr APK. So how do we actually patch the application now? Well, the first step is to convert the Java source into Smalley. This is actually fairly simple, so you just compile it into a Java class, make it into a jar file, then convert it to dex, and then disassemble back to Smalley. Yeah.
Quick question, how did you go from JavaScript to Java? Was that like manual or did you...
Yeah, it was manual. Yeah. So I just wrote that basically, yeah. So we have our like hooking classes, or whatever you want to call them, in Smalley code. We also need to hook the flow of execution somehow. So the way I chose to do this was to take the send message function, the Smalley code, and then insert an invoke static call, which basically just forwards the 3 parameters that are passed to the send message call, and it just forwards them to my hook. Now, I had some problems with actually installing this APK on my Android device due to the certificate being, like, the application is self-signed, and I already had the legitimate Wickr version installed. Tried to uninstall it, but didn't work. So it seems the issue is the package name. So it's a field in the Android manifest, and it's basically just a unique identifier for the application. And in our case, that identifier is com.mywickr.wickr2, and the vim command here will just simply replace all occurrences with that with com.mywickr.wickr3. So we've upgraded. And then it's a fairly simple task to just rebuild the application using APK tool, and then align and sign the file. All right, so demo time. I don't have a cool setup for displaying my phone screen to you guys, but I'm gonna ask you to click the Wickr icon on the left. Yes. And then I want you to write a message to the one contact that's in the list. And we can see it show up on screen. So yeah, this phone is not rooted, not anything, and changing the package name also has another potentially useful side effect, which is that the application will no longer receive updates that are intended for the original application. So there's no risk that my app will be basically overwritten. So as you can imagine, there are plenty of use cases for this technology. Law enforcement or employers wanting to spy on their employees. But yeah, like I said earlier, don't be a dick.